Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing this afternoon? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to $3 Theater. And this stream is probably not going to win me a lot of people, but I think it's something that absolutely needs to be said, and it's something that needs to be talked about. Because today the internet is blowing up, at least on Twitter, over this tweet from Ray Fisher talking about Joss Whedon in Justice League, saying Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He was enabled in many ways by Geoff Johns and John Berg. Accountability is greater than entertainment. And of course, right now, we're in the throes of this whole accountability thing in Hollywood, right? I'm not against it. I think if you're a terrible person, by all means, get called out. Works for me just fine. But I have to ask, and I always have to ask, and I always do ask what the motivations are. Because this week specifically, let me throw away a water bottle. This week specifically, Ray Fisher has come out a couple times and fired mad, crazy shots at Joss Whedon. So then the question becomes, why? And who okayed it? And if you're thinking to yourself, but why does Ray Fisher need okay? Why does Ray Fisher need permission? Why does he need any of these things? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, that's the way the system works. If you want jobs in Hollywood, it's not good of you to crap on the people who cast movies or the people who finance movies or the people who produce movies. Not publicly. Not unless you're up to something. And not unless it's been pre-approved. Now, in this particular case, I have serious questions, not about the credibility of what he says. I mean, we've all heard stories about Joss Whedon as time has gone on. We've all heard stories about Joss Whedon. I have a particular source, of which I will not name, who a number of years ago told me who or why, really, Joss Whedon and his wife broke up and who was the reason why they broke up. And it's kind of an open secret, I think. I've heard it brought up a couple different times, but it's not my place to tell. So there's been a lot of discussion about Joss Whedon and impropriety and infidelity. His wife accused him of this a couple years ago. We haven't seen anything out of Joss Whedon really since 2017's Justice League, except now he does have a new show coming to, I believe, HBO called The Nevers. And that is owned and operated by Warner, now Warner Media, under the AT&T umbrella. So it's not like they aren't still working with Joss Whedon. It's not like they're not still producing his content and giving him jobs and giving him a career. So again, I have to ask these questions of like, why? Now, another thing, going back to this tweet here, where he says he was enabled in many ways by Geoff Johns and John Berg. And that's been something that a lot of people out there have been hinting at for quite some time. That Geoff Johns and John Berg destroyed the DCEU, they screwed over Zack Snyder, all of these things. And I don't disagree on that front. I don't disagree on that. I think when you had the second week opening of BVS, or the second week of BVS, and you had that staggering like 78% drop, and the Monday after, they basically dethroned Zack Snyder. They put Ben Affleck in as a producer to oversee the edit of the film. They brought in Geoff Johns and John Berg to take over DC Films. There was that whole corporate upheaval. And obviously those guys went on to go and produce Aquaman and finish up Wonder Woman and finish up Suicide Squad and Shazam. You know, there's a lot there that they've ultimately worked on that was successful. So so there's always those kind of things to take in account of. Now, in regards to, let's say, Suicide Squad and Justice League, those two films in particular had the most meddling by Geoff Johns. And I think at the time, it's because he wanted to make it like the MCU. I think that's what he wanted. I think that was the corporate mandate from Kevin Tushihara. I think that's what they really wanted it to do. We know this because in Justice League, it's full of jokes. Terrible, corny jokes that do not fit in the world that Snyder had created, hence why the Snyder Cut movement reigned as long as it did. And it was successful, and that's awesome, and at no point have I ever criticized that. My criticisms here come from just what feels to me as something that is extremely unprofessional and can only really mean one thing, in my opinion. But before we dive into that, I do want to touch upon this particular tweet by Alan Tudyk, who, in response to this, him being a friend of Joss Whedon, comes out and says, "Wasn't there, but I've known Joss for 17 years. I honestly can't even imagine it, and I have a pretty good imagination." This, of course, talking about this whole situation. And a lot of people, I mean, he's got 408 retweets, 1,100 likes, but a lot of the comments that I read were like, "Well, you weren't there, you don't know." As if his experiences with Joss overall don't mean anything. There's this weird thing that goes on with the Snyder Cut fan base. And as much as I love those guys, there's this weird thing where anyone who criticizes does get like bombarded with these comments. And it's true. I've seen it happen. I don't think it's a cult. I don't think they're bad people. I think there was exceptionally amount of problems that happened. I think Snyder got screwed over. And so these people, they feel defensive and they want to come out and they want to defend their boy. And I'm all for that. But there's also has to be a point in time when you realize, or when you look at this from an industry-based perspective and not just a fanboy or fan person perspective, because there is a vast difference between the two. There's a vast difference between the two. And so when I think about this whole thing, and I think about what Ray Fisher's saying about Joss Whedon, I don't disagree. I think he was probably unprofessional. I mean, Grace Randolph did bring this up. She says, "I doubt we'll get the specifics from Ray Fisher, re Joss Whedon, but here's one thing I was first to report. Gal Gadot did not want to film this scene, so Whedon did it with the stunt double. That's why you can't see her face." And that's come up quite often in these conversations. People saying that, like, I saw comments on Twitter today about how he locked Gal Gadot in her dressing room and he shot it with the stunt double. And then when Ray Fisher on Instagram the other day said, "I retract this statement about Joss Whedon," she agreed with this post about it. And so it becomes this like massive conspiracy. And all of these little tidbits, all of these little things, they get whispered, they get talked about, but there's like almost never any confirmation, like when the Justice League teaser dropped a couple weeks ago and you had everyone talking about it. There's like the people that have been into the Snyder Cut stuff and they're like, "Oh, well, we saw this months ago," but like no one said anything. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But as a person who's on the outside looking in, you have to understand that there's a lot of speculation and there's a lot that goes on with these type of things that ends up being PR or ends up being a push from the studio or ends up being a way to kind of save face. And again, when I'm talking about the situation with Geoff Johns specifically, I want to kind of revert to this article that popped up today on Deadline. It says Jason Momoa to voice Frosty the Snowman in live action pick for Warner Brothers and Stampede Ventures. So, okay, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China, you might ask? Well, in the first two sentences, Warner Brothers and Stampede Ventures have set up Frosty the Snowman, a live action film that will see Aquaman star Jason Momoa voicing the iconic snowman. John Berg and Greg Silverman of Stampede produced with Geoff Johns of Mad Ghost and Momoa. Berg and Silverman were Warner's senior execs who helped architect the DC franchise launch of Aquaman. So, I mean, look, this is the thing is if everyone who is a part of this says, "Oh, well, Warner's hates Geoff Johns and Warner's does," all of these things that we hear all the time, yet Deadline is reporting that a new live action Frosty the Snowman starring Jason Momoa is going to be produced by John Berg and Geoff Johns. And if Momoa is on board with hating on these guys, as is usually what gets said, because he's very pro Zack Snyder, as he should be, I can't help but just ask if there's just a lot of confirmation bias that goes into this. And again, if you come over here and you just look at Geoff Johns' producing credits that are just in the last couple years, going back to, and the image I could get was like Shazam, Titans, Birds of Prey, Batwoman, Doom Patrol, Stargirl, Wonder Woman 1984, Superman and Lois, an untitled Harley Quinn or Joker project, Green Lantern Corps, and Batgirl. So he's not out. He's not in charge anymore. That's Hamada, but he's not out. And they're still working within this same realm of people, within the same company that had a regime change and clearly a change of heart in regards to the Snyder Cut. So it becomes this fascinating situation when you start to kind of look at all the elements of it And then you start to ask yourself, why is this happening? Why are we seeing it like this? What is going on? And that's why I posed the question. Did Ray Fisher ultimately just tank his career? And I know people out there are going to disagree with me on this one, and there's already been some pushback on Twitter because they don't want to believe that there's a game being played here. And there is absolutely a game being played here. I don't have all the information, but just looking at it via Occam's razor, what I can only assume is, how things are going to play out, we have to break it down like this. Ray Fisher is a relatively unknown actor. He's a good actor. I like him, and I wish him all the best, obviously. And I want to see him back as Cyborg. I don't think that's happening. I just don't think that's happening at this point. Because when you come out and you start attacking the director of the last movie you were in, who did the reshoots, who finished it up, you're either doing it because I think he's doing it because somebody okayed it. And I think that person who okayed it was Zack Snyder. Snyder's never going to come out directly and attack Joss Whedon. He likes to kind of joke and chide a little bit on Vero and other things, and he plays the part and he does his part, and I respect him for that. But Ray Fisher coming out twice in 1 week and attacking Joss Whedon is not a good look for Warner Brothers, because it shows that there's not unity amongst the ranks. And when there's division amongst the ranks, it never really ends well for the person who is the whistleblower. And at this point, I believe that is absolutely fundamentally the way Hollywood operates. We know this. All of this stuff is done in the trades. There's a lot of negotiations that are done with the trades. There's a lot of things that happen in the media that are meant to control things. Outright attacks never bode well. Because it's not like Me Tooing Joss Whedon, who was kind of Me Too'd by his wife. I guess you could kind of argue that. But it's not that. It's just saying it was an unprofessional, abusive experience without giving any details. Which is why in this tweet, I asked the question, okay, please explain. If you're going to come out, Ray Fisher, and you're going to attack Joss Whedon, of whom I'm not even the biggest fan of, if you're going to come out and you're going to drip some tea out there, you got to spill the whole cup. Because if you want people on your side, like people in the industry on your side, because again, what you, are maybe hoping for is that other cast members show up and say something, which if that hasn't happened at this point, it's not going to. They all have more to lose than Ray Fisher does. And that is the truth. And so here's what I assume, using Occam's razor, probably happened. Ray did not enjoy working on the movie. I don't think anyone really enjoyed working on the reshoots for Justice League. I really don't. I don't think anyone did. But I think it's possible that when talking about Flashpoint, when talking about the future of Cyborg in the DCEU, because keep in mind, right now, all of these scoopers are coming out and they're all saying this is happening and this is happening and this is happening and that's happening. It's the multiverse is real. Everything's happening. There's zero confirmation until DC fandom. So until then, grain of salt, like Tony Montana, cocaine mountain-sized grain of salt has to be applied to this. But so many people are just wanting it all to be true that they're just running with it as being real. And it makes any kind of honest discourse very difficult. So it's possible that they do not want to move forward with Cyborg right now. It's possible. And, we saw that Snyder has said that Ray Fisher, Cyborg, was the heart of Justice League and will be the heart of Justice League on HBO Max. And I believe that's the case. I truly believe Victor Stone will be the key player in that series, and that's going to be great. We're going to see that early to mid 2021. Until then, quite frankly, Ray Fisher should shut the hell up, because at this point, he has everything to lose and nothing to gain off of this course. But if he holds his tongue, like everyone else is going to hold their tongue, then if the Snyder Cut comes out, and I have to emphasize this, if it's good, we do not know. I believe it will be, but again, if then he has a better shot because now the trades are going to be talking about it. Now the trades are going to be discussing it. Now the trades are going to be talking about it in the positive light. The fan conversation is going to be at an all-time high. It's going to dominate social media, dominate trends for 4 to 6 weeks if they do it episodically. At that point, it is prime media real estate in the positive. In the positive. That is when you play it up to get more roles. Your agent, your manager, puts you out there in order to get more roles outside of just showing up in a couple episodes of True Detective Season 3, which is the only thing that he's really done since Justice League. So at this point, it's kind of like Mina Masad coming out a few months ago and saying, yeah, I haven't gotten any auditions since Aladdin. And Aladdin was $1 billion movie. And at the time, it was not met with a positive response from practically anyone. It was met with, dude, what are you doing? Like, shut the hell up. You don't come out and whine about not getting roles. You're not going to get more roles as a result of this. And as far as I can tell, he still hasn't. There's that rule where you don't bite the hand that feeds you. You just don't do it. Now, there are people out there that I've met, responded to me in this regard, and they've said, oh, but Ray Fisher just wants justice. Sure, fine. I'm not against calling out Joss Whedon for being a jerk on the set of the movie, but you need to pick the right time. We're less than 2 months away from DC Fandom, where the Snyder Cut is going to be the prominent feature, where we're hoping there's going to be a trailer. Justice Con is coming in a couple weeks. That's going to be a big thing, right? That's going to be big for the fan community. So again, I mean, well, this kind of thing would go well over there, but in DC Fandom, not so much. So there's no point. There's no Comic-Con that's happening right now. There's Comic-Con at home. Okay, that's nothing DC related is happening there. One thing with Disney Plus, nothing with the MCU. There's no point to come out and attack Joss Whedon right now. Wonder Woman 84 got bumped back. Gal Gadot ain't going to say anything because it would result in negative headlines that could potentially damage what Warner's is trying to do with that movie. There's a game that has to be played here, and the game that he's playing is a losing game. It's not War Games, where the only winning move is to not play, which would be the entire thing here. But what he's doing is he's coming out and he's creating negative headlines, going after Joss Whedon, who hasn't responded. And if he's smart, he won't respond. But it does nothing to benefit Fisher. It does nothing. Because it's coming out of left field on a 3-year-old movie, and no one is going to sit there and go, oh, yeah, no, in the age of Me Too, this isn't an issue. Because no one's going to care. But the trades are going to talk about it. The anti-Snyder Cut people are going to come out and attack it, which I've already seen, because they think that it just ties further into this Snyder cult mentality. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because Ray Fisher should have gotten better advice. And I think Zack gave him the okay on this. I don't know why. He owes everything to Zack Snyder, so he's going to get his back. So clearly something happened to piss off Ray Fisher enough to come out and make this claim. But I don't think he would have fired that shot without getting some help. You can agree with me or you can disagree with me. At this point, I really want to see what you guys have to say. So let me look in the comment section here. Okay. All right. So Poindexter Lounge here says, absolutely agree. Well, thank you. Thank you, Enosh. I appreciate that. Gerald here says, looks like Ray Fisher's career is in the hands of Snyder Cut. He doesn't have the kind of clout to say stuff and keep getting work. Let's hope our boy Zack delivers, which I believe he will. And I agree with that. All right. I do. I agree with that. I think that Snyder will deliver. And I think that Fisher will deliver. I liked his performance in Justice League. I want to see the rest of it. It doesn't make any sense to come out and attack when you have no clout. See, Chanthorpe here says, I agree. Zack is just taking off the kid gloves. Sure, man. Fuck it. By all means, do it. I'm down for that. But it's like, I want it to come from Zack. Don't send a capo in. Don't send a capo in to fight. Come out and actually fight. Let's see. All right. Optimus here says, it's not hard to be a jerk when you are a manager trying to do well. You begin seeing Darth Vader as a good guy. I guess so. He said that for John Boyega, though nobody will mind Boyega going to a demonstration. Well, there was a lot that came out of the Boyega thing. And maybe Fisher's trying to pull from the Boyega playbook. Maybe he is. Maybe he is trying to pull from the Boyega playbook. Maybe he's trying to get that attention. But I mean, there's a difference between during nationwide and worldwide protests over police reform versus a comic book movie. It's not like that. Nerdy in many ways says, yeah, I don't know about Zack necessarily saying he should. Zack would know better than to let a friend deliberately do something that would jeopardize his career. That is unless Zack is protecting him. Now, here's why I think that. All the rumors we're hearing, and what it does appear to be happening, by the way, and I kind of believe this, is that the Snyder Cut is not going to be a one and done thing. That HBO Max is going to continue the Snyderverse, and then they're going to multiverse his shit, which I think is dumb as hell, but whatever. And I think that Snyder's projects going forward are going to be very Cyborg friendly. We've heard talks of there being a Cyborg movie on HBO Max, and maybe that deal is done. Maybe that deal is signed. I don't know. But maybe Zack is going to have his back. But there's no other explanation for Fisher coming out right now and making this comments. There's literally no other explanation. Servant of All says, Ray is not playing games, much respect. He is, though. He is. Everything in Hollywood is a game. Everything in politics is a game. It's all one big game. It's all designed to do something, to get something. That's literally that's why it's called playing the game. It's how the game works. You got to get enough attention on yourself, but it's how you get the attention on yourself. It can have good or it can have bad impacts. You know what I mean? Generally, in many cases, look at Colin Kaepernick. He took a knee, destroyed his entire career, still can't get hired, right? And now you have police out there at these protests a couple years later taking a knee. Right? At the time, they would have never done that back in 2016, 2017 when that happened. So it takes time. But this stuff, when you bite the hand that feeds you, can straight up destroy your career. And it's not just entertainment. It's like literally everything. Let's see here. Pointer Lounge says, I do think that if something bad enough happened, I understand the frustration. And it would be interesting if others like Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa would have something to say. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for. If none of the other cast says anything, they've left Fisher out to dry. If we believe what was said. Let's see here. Let's keep in mind, too, that when Joss came in, he and Berg and Johns gutted most of Cyborg scenes. Yes, I don't disagree that Fisher has every right to be frustrated with what happened. But he's getting all of that restored. He's getting what he wants. So why attack? Unless he's not getting what he wants and he's trying to play this media manipulation game. He's trying to embolden the release the Snyder Cut base to go full ham in order to pressure HBO Max or Warner Media or something into swinging something his direction. There's no other reason why. There is no other reason why he would be upset. He's getting everything he wants back. He's going to be the heart and soul and the center of what's going to be the most talked about media thing and pop culture movie event in 2021. Like, he's in the center of it. It makes zero sense to do it. Let's see here. Gal forced out Brett, so she's probably just waiting her time to be more honest. What do you mean by that, Chan? I don't get that. Finn here says Joss himself has his own PR problems. Yeah, that's true. I agree. He has. Oh, hey, Gerald Johnson, new member. Thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. I'm going to do more of these afternoon streams, just like a one topic thing or something like that. Let's see. Who's the bigger star, Momoa or Gal Gadot? Momoa, actually. If you look at it financially speaking, Momoa is the bigger star, but Gal's got more play, I think. Let's see here. Fisher won't get whiteballed. We got his, don't you mean blackballed? But the thing is, Jay, you can have his back all you want. It literally means nothing. It literally means nothing in how the studio system operates. If his only real work outside of Justice League was True Detective, and he hasn't gotten anything. Look at Deborah Ann Wool, who played Karen Page on Daredevil. She came out recently and she was like, it's been 3 years since we wrapped Daredevil season 3. or 2 years since we wrapped Daredevil season 3, and I haven't gotten a job since then. You know, these things happen. And she talked about it. She said, I haven't gotten a job since then. But she didn't go out there and cry and complain and anything else about it. So, and then like she might get more work as a result of that. But not everyone works all the time. Sometimes it takes time to get there. John Paul says, nah, he didn't take his career job. Are you wrong? Nah, man. Watch what happens. Unless there's something brewing big behind the scenes, like a big attack against Joss Whedon, and he's just getting out in front of it, like some big Me Too thing that's going to be happening, then it just right now, though, the look is bad within the industry. Hail Doomcock Barry Jarbo. I don't give a fuck, Bill. You can take a long walk off a short pier. Go back to your bitch in a mask. All right. Let's see. Did I hear that Seth Rogen is doing a TMNT CG movie? I did. I'm very happy. Momoa had a project announced today, so he's not going to say anything. Exactly, and I talked about that too. I talked about that as well, where he's got that Frosty movie coming with Geoff Johns and John Berg producing it. You're not going to get anything out of Momoa. Let's see. The red comment says, I just see the Cyborg film, same as Flash movie, as DC's equivalent to Gambit. That'd be pretty cool, and I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. I think it's okay. Let's see. Ray Fisher wasn't getting any jobs anyway, partly because of WB execs and Joss Whedon, but that's no, you don't know that. You know, they're not going to sit there and blackball him. You know, like there's no point for that. It's just like he needs, I think if anything, he needs better representation. Let's see here. Okay, they're talking amongst themselves. Ray knows his time as Cyborg is done. He doesn't fear anything at this point. I just think he wants to be honest and be vocal. And I can respect that. I can. But when it comes to playing the game, you want to make sure it's you play it the right way. And this is not the right move. So it's not the right move at all. Let's see here. Joss Whedon isn't a studio. I don't think it will be that negative on Fisher. No, Joss Whedon isn't a studio. Joss Whedon is a legacy. Joss Whedon is a popular, known creative who has an immense amount of sway. He was the first director to bring the Avengers to the big screen to set the tone for the MCU. Yeah, he screwed up Justice League, something fierce, and that did damage him. But you know what, Hollywood, you may only be as important as your last or good as your last project, basically. But when it comes to the creatives, they've got each other's backs. I mean, Joss Whedon's been around for a long time. He co-wrote Toy Story. He worked on Roseanne. You know, he did Buffy. Buffy's got a lot of popular, you know, he does better in TV. That's where his world is. But he's got friends, and a lot of them. So again, this is, you know, this stuff goes a long way. This stuff, it reaches, you know, Hollywood talks, man. They talk a lot. See, so WB will can Ray Fisher, but not Ezra Miller. Well, the thing is no one is clamoring for a Cyborg movie, not on a studio level. I think fans were definitely, but like more than a Flash movie with Ezra, but they've been planning an Ezra movie for a long time. So it's always been in the trades. I think there was talks of a Cyborg movie, but then that went away. I do think we're going to see more out of him on HBO Max. But I really think that at this point he's at a situation where he just kind of screwed himself. Let's see. Gerald here says Joss hasn't said anything, and it's good. It's a good move on his end because this will pass over in a few days, and then he'll be on the next piece of news. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look at Ezra Miller. There's that whole thing. It came out about Ezra Miller, dead. No one talks about it anymore. It comes up, oh, but Ezra Miller choked that lady. No one cares. You heard nothing out of, I think Warner said they were looking into it, and then that was it. Dead. Nothing happened. So, let's see here. Oh yeah. Hold on. He lost Batgirl. Well, he did lose Batgirl, but you know, that's not going to, you know, people lose projects all the time. Right? They do. People lose projects all the time. I'm not too worried about that. They've also been in their different thing. Joss Whedon has no legacy. It was destroyed the moment he got Me Too'd. He never got Me Too'd specifically. He got accused of infidelity. And most people don't even know about that. Like if you go and talk to people like who don't follow the entertainment media, and you're like, do you know who Joss Whedon is? They'll be like, yeah, he did Avengers 1, Avengers 2, Buffy, all that shit. All right, you know he cheated on his wife? And they'll be like, what? No, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Like, do you care? Well, that's a dick move, but I mean, it's Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, infidelity in Hollywood is not uncommon. Just today, reports are coming out about how Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith have an open marriage, and this one 27-year-old guy has been like in a years-long affair with Jada Pinkett Smith, and Will Smith gave his blessing for it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how true it is. He's saying it, but it's, again, I was like, oh, okay. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for Hollywood. It's not uncommon. Infidelity in Hollywood is like another day. You know what I mean? No one's going to go, oh, they're just going to go, oh, it's a Tuesday. That doesn't really fly. It didn't damage him. It wounded him. But again, no one talks about that. And that was like 3 years ago. Isn't Joss Whedon a male feminist? Yes, he is, which is the funniest goddamn thing. Let's see. We need to really remember that Justice League was also a financial failure. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that it was. But like I said before, Fisher at this point is back. He's getting everything he wants. So it makes no sense for him to come out and say anything like this. Whedon flip-flops about feminists. Bobby, he does. Bobby here says, it's very dangerous what he's saying because he's vague too. Exactly. The vague accusations, those don't fly, man. Like I said earlier, if you're going to drip that tea, you got to spill it. Oh, okay. Will Smith denied it today about that. Okay, good. But again, I wasn't shocked, man. I wasn't shocked. Not once. Wasn't shocked. Wasn't like, oh my God, no, Will Smith. It's called Holly Weird for a reason. Yeah, that's true. Let's see here. Garrick says, Justice League wasn't a bomb. It underperformed, but it wasn't a bomb. That is true. Same goes for Solo, too. Solo underperformed, but it wasn't a bomb. Didn't Whedon have a Wonder Woman movie pre-DCEU? He did, and that script was pretty terrible. Do I think Zack Snyder will be able to make more DCE movies for HBO Max if Justice League is a success? Yes, I do. I really do believe that. I think they wouldn't invest as much as they are into it, even though, I mean, look, and the reason why I say this is when I talked about the Snyder cut and like dropping the money in before we got the announcement, my whole thing was looking at the Netflix model where, like, look at Bright, for example, David Ayer's Bright, $90 million production budget went to streaming. $90 million. They take what they have of Zack Snyder's Justice League. They give them, I guess in this case, upwards of like 60 or 70 million from what I'm hearing. And that's what's in the rumor mill. So take that with a grain of salt. They're saying, like 60, 70 million. But that is still cheaper than what they would spend on something like Bright. And it's something people have been talking about and clamoring for. It was a good PR. They got so much good PR off of that announcement that it's going to pay for itself because so many people went to and signed up for HBO Max. And now HBO Max is slowly bringing over all the DC Universe stuff, which means DC Universe is basically dead. And it's great. Give me Harley Quinn season 3. Hashtag. And also Edgar Wright was going to do Ant-Man. That's true, he was. All right, Joss has got some stink on him. He's done one project in 6 years, and he's been exposed as fake. Ray Fisher, not worried because he went back to theater already. Well, then if he went back to theater, then he knows that's where he's going to be for a while until he gets another chance to come up to movies. And a lot of actors go to theater, so I don't really see how that necessarily applies. What's the future of Harley Quinn in the DCEU? I hope it's better than Birds of Prey. I really do. So let's see. Solo also sold well on home video. Did JL do well on streaming and DVD? We don't know about streaming, but I can look up. Justice League sales. What are Justice League sales saying? So, its estimated home video sales was $61 million, which is actually pretty fucking good if you think about it. So if it did 655 worldwide box office and another 61 million, it cleared 700. So about $716 million total off of an estimated $300 million budget. Again, not necessarily, and again, like the home video stuff is basically all profit. So outside of just the retail cut, that ain't bad, man. That ain't bad at all. So that's still pretty good. That's still pretty decent. What's the borderline bomb to establish a baseline? Like, what would be a bomb? Like, I mean, even some people say that Birds of Prey bombed, but it still did relatively well. Yeah. Well, I'm streaming Batman Superman in the middle of the day on a hot issue topic, not at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard when everyone else is in bed. There's a reason why. A Cyborg series on HBO Max would be dope. I agree. Let's see. Shidoka says, I've yet to see Solo. I should change that soon. Yeah, you should. Let's see. JL did less than previous DCEU movies, especially Man of Steel and BVS. Well, okay. So BVS, and I've mentioned this before, spent 5 weeks at the number 1 spot when it came out on home video in the summer of 2016. So 4 years ago this month, it was number 1 for 5 weeks on Blu-ray and DVD sales. Combine those together, it was number 1. So it did very well on home video during the summer. And that had a lot to do with the fact that the extended cut was way better than the theatrical. People wanted, I think, the Justice League to have an extended cut on home video. And they had, what, 1 deleted scene? I mean, there was such a no-frills home video release for that. It's pathetic. I have a copy of it around here somewhere. Oh, no, it's in my closet. It's still unopened. I bought it in, I think, in 2018. So, it's all good. Let's see here. Green Lantern 2011 is more of a bomb than Justice League. Yeah, that's true. Let's see here. Failing to make your budget back counts as a bomb, I think, or not making at least twice the budget. Well, yeah, it's something around that area. Hollywood accounting is weird and never in a good way. Sonny set up here says, ultimately, I think Ray will be fine. If anything, he's getting a lot of support from black actors and directors from the industry. He's going to be in more stuff, which is exactly the whole point. Of him coming out today. By the way, it's get your name in the press. People pay attention to you. You'll therefore get more work. It's playing the game. He might hurt his career on like a studio front, but maybe like a Tyler Perry front, he'll be okay. I don't know. Let's see here. We should have gotten more with the recent Swamp Thing. 100%. What did I think of Superman Returns? I didn't care for it when the movie first came out. I watched it again when I was older, and I found myself really loving it. And look, you think what you will about Bryan Singer as a person, kind of like think what you will about Kevin Spacey as a person. They're good entertainment. They make good entertainment, and I think Superman Returns is a fine movie that did not deserve the amount of shit that it got. Wait, John Berg has responded? What do we got? Is it a tweet? What do we got here? John Berg breaking. My God. All right, let's take a look. Okay. I am... let's see here. I don't see it in my updated stuff. Maybe it's on Twitter. All right. Yeah. Well, hey, Beavis and Butthead, 2 new seasons. That's good stuff. Okay. Hold on. Does he have a Twitter account? Let me take a look here. Okay. Yeah. Where are you seeing this at, man? Where are you seeing this? So, like that's the thing I want to know. Where are you finding John Berg response? So let me just look on here. Okay. All right. I'm just looking through Twitter right now. Not seeing. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing anything. So there's that. So you can't from Variety. Well, okay. On the Variety article, fine. Let me look up Variety. All right. Okay. I was actually just on their page. Let me scroll through, find the article because they just keep reposting the same shit. Come on, Twitter. Don't be a dick. Let me find it here. Hold on. There we go. Let me see if there's an update. And I'll bring it up on the page. And then I'll probably wrap it up after that. Oh my God, Variety, don't be it's like I don't want to load. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Well, let's see here. I'm just scrolling through real quick. So I'm just okay. Berg says that it's categorically untrue that we enabled any unprofessional behavior. Berg says, I remember Fisher being upset that we wanted him to say booyah, which is a well-known saying of Cyborg in the animated series. That's what he says. So That's all he said. Basically, like, no, he's lying. He's mad at us because we wanted him to say booyah. That's what he's saying. So there we go. John Berg, it's true, all of it. No. So yeah, there we have it right there. I mean, that's a categorical deny from him, from the producer, who's still actively producing. Maybe not DC stuff, but it's, again, bite the hand that feeds you, bite you in the ass. Okay. Hold there. Zod here writer says, Ray Fisher talking about is all the confirmation we need. Telling the truth should be applauded. But again, it's not about whether or not it's true. It's not. It's not how Hollywood works. You want to, I'm not saying he's wrong. I actually think he's probably telling the truth on it. But that's not how Hollywood works. Especially when you're going up against people who have a lot more power than you and have been in the industry longer than you, and you don't get any other work outside of, True Detective season 3. That's what I'm talking about. So, let's see here. Oh, Lords of the Long Box says, peep our show at 6 p.m. tonight for DC characters reserved for TV and film. So they're going to be talking about the spec list. It's a Mikey Sutton scoop through Lords of the Long Box. These guys have been getting a lot of play, a lot of traffic, and a lot of trades. So they've been popped up on there. So check them out. Tim, it's a good dude. Tim Vo, who runs that program, is a good guy, friend of mine, and check it out. Thank you very much for that one. So, basically, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I just to go back to this real quick. He talking about it is not, if he's not going to give you any information about what it is, about what happened, about what was unprofessional, and then it's at this point, it's like not hearsay, but you can't really take it as being, factual, because it's always my story, their story, and then the truth. Okay, because there's always like the personal interpretation of something, the other side's interpretation of something of it. So Berg has come out and said Ray Fisher was mad. We wanted him to say booyah, which I have no idea. That's an interesting response, but it's possible that Fisher again is just upset that his scenes were cut. Like I mentioned before, I don't know if you were here, Zod. Like I said before, he's going to be the heart and soul of the Snyder Cut. So he has everything he wants. There's no reason to come out now and say something without being previously given the okay, or he's trying to get something. So Rorschach here says he must be in a very secure position to have brazenly made this decision. Yeah, probably. But the thing is, like, who is going to be securing him in that position? Zack Snyder. That's who it is. It's Zack who's doing it. Okay. I think that's pretty much there. Who is the most powerful figure in Hollywood? That is, that's easy, man. That's fucking Kevin Feige. That's Kevin Spielberg, Iger, Feige. It's all Feige. Do I think Ezra Miller's Flash will be any good? No. I mean, well, okay. So I think Andy Muschietti, if he actually stays on the project long enough to see it get off the ground, I'm down for that. I think he's a fantastic director. I love the It movies. I really want to see what he does with this. Ezra Miller under a better, more competent director than Joss Whedon and not trying to just do nothing but like stupid jokes, could be pretty good because he's a good dramatic actor. And I think giving us a dramatic Barry Allen performance would be good. So I want to see that. Christina Hodson writing the script, on the other hand, that's how I take that one. Let's see. Let's see here. Is Fisher saying the abuse is towards him or towards others? That he doesn't say. He doesn't say. It's just this like thing he says with no confirmation. Will Ezra get recast? No, they're going to keep him. Alan Horn is also over Kevin Feige. That means very little because all Alan Horn does is he oversees Walt Disney Studios, which, yes, Marvel Studios is a bit of a subsidiary of that, but now Kevin Feige oversees Marvel Studios and Marvel TV under Marvel Productions, which is now basically its own thing, and he answers to Chipman and Iger. I'm sure Alan Horn has some say in the matter, but come on. When Alan Horn can't produce the movies that pull in the kind of cash that fucking that Disney animated does or Marvel movies do, He does, like, he's in a good place. Don't get me wrong. He's a powerful producer, but he ain't raking it in. Okay, let's see here. I can see abuse towards Affleck. That's what made Affleck leave. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. That I kind of agree with. I think Affleck was in a bit of a bad space on his own personal life with Jennifer Garner and that whole relationship failing as they were going into the reshoots. Because keep in mind, they shot Justice League in 2016 and they picked up the reshoots in the summer of 2017, nearly a year later. So it was like really just like, a lot had happened in that year. And then again, Geoff Johns wanted it to be like the MCU, which we know. And so they wanted to probably go a different direction than it. Joss Whedon doesn't have any power. Disney took that from him. No, that's not true, man. Just not maybe direct power. Let's see here. Hold on. There's a question I saw. I like this one. I really do need to wrap this thing up. You guys are great. Batman Superman asked a question. Why hasn't Grace Randolph made a video about this? She usually does. Well, I'm sure on this particular topic, she's already shot a video. It just hasn't come out yet. But when she made that proclamation about Ryan Reynolds coming back as Hal Jordan and Zack Snyder's Justice League, but refused to make a video about it until the trades reported on it, that told me everything I need to know about that scoop. She doesn't trust it, but she'll put it out there on Twitter because she knows that other people will pick it up and they'll run with it. And then that would maybe force the studio to verify. It's what happens in these situations where what you have is you've got a big enough ruckus on some of these stories that it forces the studio or the producers or the creative leads to respond to it in order to either validate it or invalidate it, because it's a PR thing. Again, it's all a game. And a lot of this is just pressure through the media. So whatever Ray Fisher's doing today is pressure through the media, but for what reason, I can't figure out. So let's see. You think that Grace knows? I don't think Grace knows as much as she thinks she does. Would I say that the DCEU is mismanaged from the start? I would say the DCEU is mismanaged in the post-production of Batman v Superman. That's what I think. I think that when they showed off an early screening of it in February 2016 and the reports came out about the standing ovation, that was the ultimate cut. And then there's the executives that are like, well, we need to chop this thing down in order to get it into a decent timeline or run time in order to be able to fit in as many showings a day as possible. We saw this confirmed with Justice League when Kevin Tushihara came out and was all like, hey, 2-hour hard limit. So there's that. And because they wanted to get an extra showtime per day to try to get extra money per day by giving a subpar product. So yeah, some exceptionally mismanaged, but I think Snyder was on the right track, and here it is years later, and you have a lot of people who believe it. Am I excited for DC fandom? Oh, dude, 100% I'm excited for DC fandom. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I want to see what they come up with there. I really do. Let's see here. Henry Cavill is being diplomatic. Yeah, that's how you save your career. Yeah. I mean, Henry Cavill played this thing smart, right? He did it all through his agent for one. Danny Garcia, she's the bull, she's the bull. And they went after that, he stayed off to the side. He let her do her thing. And then there was some negotiation via the media, with the Shazam, cameo appearance, which failed to materialize. And then there was everyone saying that he was out. And then Cavill's all basically like, F y'all, I'm going to go do The Witcher, which was awesome. And then what do you know? Now we're hearing he's coming back in. Greed ruined the DCEU. Garrick, I'm going to disagree with you on part of that. And I'm going to say that impatience ruined the DCEU. Not so much greed, impatience. That's what I think did it. Did Geoff Johns ever have any power over the... Yeah, him and John Berg were the co-presidents of freaking DC Films. They were brought in April of 2016. And then I think it was like either December 2017 or like January 2018. They were gone after Justice League. So, let's see here. All right. Anthony here says, just finished watching Man of Steel. Good on you, dude. Good on you. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap this thing up. I appreciate everybody watching. Good conversation to be had. I'll probably be going live again, maybe later tonight, and we can talk more. I'll have open phone calls then. You guys can come on in. I dropped a link for StreamYard. I have a phone line you guys can call in on, and we have conversations about this kind of stuff. If you guys haven't already, please consider tossing the video a like. I think a lot of people probably aren't going to do it. That's fine with me, but I thought I would ask. And if you're new here and you want to sub to the channel, I make content like this all the time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really do. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, or you guys can find me over on facebook.com/groups/$3 Theater. And we could chit chat over there as well. So I'll talk to you guys all later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again. And peace the hell out.